Hi, this is David Liao with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, and we're doing Cooking Well with Diabetes, Lesson 2, Making Recipes with Fat Better for You. I have it right here in front of me so we can talk about it. Let's do a quick review from last week. I'm finding my camera, it's right there. Let's do a quick review from last week. And really most important is finding your carbohydrates, knowing what's going to really make an impact on your blood sugar, and those are the carbohydrates. We talked about milks, so dairy milk, to a lesser extent things like almond milk and soy milk, but if those are like chocolate or vanilla versions, they're going to have sugar added to them. Yogurt and fruit. These are carbohydrates. They have naturally occurring sugar. If you spill them, they'll attract ants. So they have naturally occurring sugar in them. They are sweet and they will raise your blood sugar. I don't think it's dairy products and yogurt and milk and fruit. I don't think it's these things that we're taking in extra that's really raising our blood sugar. So that really leaves us with starches, grains, and anything else that has sugar in it. Starches, anything made from flour, even whole wheat flour, we generally like that. That's a better choice, but it's still carbohydrate even if it's made from a brown flour. So you're looking at bread, tortillas, pasta. So these things are made from flour. They don't really have white table sugar in them. But then you get into things that have flour and sugars. So now we're looking at cake and brownies and pan dulce. Now we have our grains, like rice and quinoa and corn. And the wonderful thing about corn is it can be turned into, it can be milled and ground up and turned into a flour, which is how we get corn tortillas and cornbread and polenta and I haven't had polenta in a while, but it's made from cornmeal. Fish fry crust, crust on your fried fish, on your fried shrimp, on your hush puppies. So we have corn to deal with too, peas, beans. Yes, they count as a carbohydrate, but like I said last time, I really like beans. I think a problem is that we don't eat enough of them. They are a carbohydrate, but they're so great for you. There's so much fiber, protein, yes, and carb too. But then what do we do to them? We add a bunch of fat to it, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the fat. Hey, that worked out into a really good segue into our lesson. Look, guys, we do need some fat, but actually, when we're talking about calories, fat gives us like the most calories per gram. Like this much carbohydrate, this much flour, and this much protein, and this much fat. So they're all the same. So this much flour, carbohydrate, gives us 4 calories per gram. This much protein gives us 4 calories per gram. This much fat gives us 9 calories per gram. So it's more than double the amount of calories of the other of protein and fat, of the other macronutrients. So we need fat. It's important. Guess what? We get too much of it. We get too much of it, just like we get too much of carbohydrates and very likely too much protein. And I mentioned this a little bit last time. You know, pieces of meat or chicken or fish, you know, I call them animal protein. They're a big source of fat in your diet. You know, before we get into these other sources of fat, you know, it doesn't do any good to try to limit, you know, your avocado. Yes, avocado is a fat. Somehow, I don't, you know, it's a plant, but it's fat. It's that monosaturated good fat. You know, it doesn't do any good to limit your portion of like avocado or guacamole and still consume large portions of animal protein in your diet. That's not looking at all the fat in your diet. So I still want lean portions of beef or chicken, or fish, or any other protein sources like tofu or beans, but they have to stick to a 3 to 4 ounce portion. Larger men, maybe 5 ounces of beef or chicken, and that's honestly, it's harder to find now. Even chicken breast, or one chicken breast is just a big portion. Fat is helpful. I'm on uses of fat now. Oh, you can't see that too well. Uses of fat. Adds flavor. We like the way it feels in our mouth. But probably the most important to us right now is gives the feeling of fullness. You're not going to get full without some fat you're eating. You know, I talked about the lettuce and tomato salad. In terms of a salad that's gonna help you feel full, no, I don't think that's gonna do it. If you like it, please have it. Please continue having it. But I feel like you're gonna be hungry again real soon because there's no fat in lettuce and tomato. And if we get full on it, it's from the river of ranch that we put on it. Fat slows down the digestion and absorption of food, so that's helpful. That's helpful. Of course, we get too much. There are benefits, but we get too much, and it's real easy to do that. But I do want a little fat, and we have to start looking at how much that is. So I've talked about it a little bit. The saturated fats from meat. You ever take some fajitas out of the fridge left over, and that fat, maybe it drips in the foil. Okay, I'm getting real specific. It kind of drips in the foil when it's warm, and then it's cold now or room temperature, and that fat has turned into a white gel, a white fatty layer. That's saturated fat. It's solid at room temperature. That bacon grease, we cook bacon in the pan, and then we go eat breakfast, and then we come back, and there is a white layer there after it's cooled down to room temperature. That's saturated fat. It's okay. It's coming from animal sources, very rarely from plant sources. Actually, that coconut oil that became very popular recently is it's a plant, but for somehow it's saturated fat. Typically, the plant fats are better. You have your monosaturated fat and your polyunsaturated fat. Um, Olive oil, avocado, the fat from nuts. Nuts are actually very fatty, um, and but they provide those good healthy fats for you. And can I go on? Avocado, nuts. Oh, fatty fish. The fish, particularly fish that comes from cold water, they say. So salmon, mackerel, tuna, sardines, I think halibut, actually. Um, Halibut may be iffy. I'm not sure on that one, but for sure salmon, tuna, mackerel, and sardines. Um, they're your fatty fish, and uh, we like to have them part of a regular diet. But again, you know, 3, 4, 5 ounce portion. That's about the size of a deck of playing cards. You know, I use my hands because they work out pretty well, but some guys have big hands that like cover my whole face. Let's see. So we definitely want to choose. I'm on the choosing healthy fats slide. So we see canola oil, peanut oil, nuts, avocado, salmon, and well, we know those others choose less often. Bacon, margarine, cream cheese, lard is manteca, um, whole milk, things like that. Look, while there are healthier fats, I think it's very interesting. You know, we kind of don't need to be told something is healthy because then that makes us like that tells us, oh, it's healthy. I can have all of it that I want. It no, it doesn't work that way, and we can have. I like avocado. I think it's great. I want us um, to include more avocado in our diet. But the idea is that the avocado replaces. It's cool to replace butter with avocado. It's good to replace mayonnaise with avocado, cream cheese, ranch. Sometimes I don't even get dressing on my salads. I just use the avocado and kind of mush it around, and it's great. Um, it's still a fat though. We can still have too much of it. And we know it's too much if we think it's affecting our weight. If we're trying to lose weight and we're not able to, and the rest of our diet is perfect, but the avocado has increased, well, then they're kind of offsetting each other. Um, we can have too much of these things. I'm gonna go to the label on. Do you see the label in your slides? So we're looking at the label just like we looked at it last time for carbohydrates. Remember, for carbohydrates, we want that. We're counting 15s. We're counting sections of the clock. Remember? Draw your clock again and cut it into fours and put the 12 at the top and the 3 at the side, 6 and the 9. You're counting those sections of 15 to count your carbs. And each 15 is like a slice of bread. Well, for fat, we do it a little different. We're going to get a little more complicated. Fat, just look at total fat. I think they're still going to include saturated fat and trans